With the 2023 offseason finally upon the Detroit Lions, let's take a look at our upcoming free agents and players that we could potentially look to re-sign from the 2022 roster. I won't be discussing free agents or even the draft yet. We're going to be focusing on who I've designated as our top 10 targets from the pre-existing Lions roster that we need to go out and re-sign. I will not be going through every single player, but I've whittled it down to 10 players that we need to focus on, whether we should re-sign them or let them walk, or even if it's a possibility to re-sign them. Either way, this is going to be a fun little video, so hang on to your hats, fellas, and let's get into the fun stuff.
Welcome to Detroit!
Alright fellas, welcome back. As you know, I'm Hat and Beard, the host of this channel. Hey, before we get too far down the line, do me a favor, go ahead and click like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so that you never miss out on any notifications, and you can become part of the Hat and Beard gang. Now I'm going to be operating as if we're going to be cutting Michael Brockers and Big Halapalutavati Vaitai. Neither one really contributed too much this season, and we need to remove them from the books to allow us to have a little bit more hard cap space to re-sign some players and make a couple passes at some potential free agents. Also, I'm going to be keeping Romeo Okwara. Earlier on in the season, I thought he would end up being a salary cap casualty come the end of the year. But realistically, when you look at the production he was able to put in when he came back off of injury, and the fact that he is a incredibly nice rotationary piece to have on roster, and he's already under contract, you might as well just keep the guy to add that depth that we have to maintain our elite level of our front seven play, as well as help cultivate growth of our young defensive end players like a James Houston and a Aiden Hutchinson, to have someone like a Romeo Okwara, who is at one point a top end level, not an elite, but a topper end level pass rusher before his injury, and he's been around the league a little bit, so he knows how to help these guys navigate the rookie waters. So ballpark, we're going to be looking at the Lions having roughly about $25 million in cap space for them to re-sign players and target some free agents. Number 1, Jay Willie. Jamal Williams. Jay Willie broke Barry Sanders' single-season touchdown rushing record. Yeah, he needed an extra game to do it, but he wasn't the lead back. Jay Willie is the heartbeat of the team. He's Dan Campbell on the field. He is the engine that makes this offense run, essentially. He's our lifeblood, and he's our leader. His market value has gone up in the free agent market due to his touchdown biases. However, Jamal Williams isn't a young back. He has a few more miles on him than, say, a rookie running back would, and he's a bit more of a one-trick pony. You're not going to see him out there making a lot of catches. You're not going to see him out there in a lot of pass pro. He's more of a goal line back. His production really tapered off at the end of the year. However, we weren't utilizing him as a lead back. We were giving the rock to DeAndre Swift and spelling him with more Justin Jackson, allowing Jay Willie to have more of our short yardage and goal line work. Is that valuable in today's NFL? It is if you're trying to establish the run. Should the Lions re-sign Jay Willie? Of course the Lions should re-sign Jay Willie. Now, his market value will see a slight uptick, but with the $25 million we have, I would allocate roughly four and a half, possibly, I wouldn't go over 5, but up to $5 million a year for a nice 2, possibly even a 3-year contract. Again, he's an older back with more miles on him than, say, the younger guys in the league, and that is a room that we need to get fresh legs at because Jay Willie's a little bit older and DeAndre Swift can't stay healthy an entire season. He's effective at what he does. He's productive at what he does when we utilize him in what he's good at. Ben Johnson has a plan for him. Dan Campbell knows how to utilize him. He was one of the culture-shifting players that we signed to bring into the Lions to help get all the crap out, get all the old losing ways out, and you can see now how that type of player is a huge cog in the culture change rebuilding wheel. Number 2, DJ Chark. As you guys know, I have been incredibly hard on DJ Chark 2/3 of the season. It wasn't until the back end of the year that he really started to come on. Now, granted, he was a little dinged up for a couple of games, but you were brought in on a $10 million, 1-year prove-it deal. Did you prove enough to get a long-term deal with the Detroit Lions? If we had more salary cap, I would say hands down yes. You're a great position to have. You're a great weapon to have alongside of our young, booming wide receivers, Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. However, I know DJ Chark has expressed that he wants to come back to Detroit, that he likes being here, that he feels like part of the family, that we've really opened our arms and accepted him as one of the players. DJ Chark, your market value though just we can't pallet that, bro. You're looking at making probably upwards of over $7 million a year. With us only having $25 million in hard cap space, you're really going to kneecap us on what moves we can make if we were to go out and want to make a run at a Deron Payne, or if we were to make money moves and somehow figure out a way to make a pass at Roquan. So unfortunately, with DJ Chark's market value being what it is, and the fact that he did actually produce at the back end and show that he's a viable wide receiver in the NFL, I expect him to capitalize on his market value and land a 2-3-year contract someplace else, someplace like a Carolina or even an Arizona, as they're looking to move Nook out of the Arizona and they're going to need another wide receiver to help out. DJ Chark could theoretically capitalize on his value elsewhere and get his bag, but it's just not going to happen here, bud. We can't afford a $7 to $10 million wide receiver with the cap space that we have now. If this is next year where we're poised to have over $100 million in cap space and get out from underneath all of the bad business deals that the Quintricia era did to us, yeah, that would be a lot more feasible. But right now, unfortunately, we just don't have the money to make a move on DJ Chark. Number 3, I'm a big fan of Evan Brown, you guys. Evan Brown playing at the guard position. You know, he came in as a center. They moved him over to guard when Big V went down, and he played great. He played outstanding, to be honest with you. However, Evan Brown, as much of a fanboy as I am of you and as great as you did play, you were dinged up for a couple of games this year, and we were able to show that rotationary players can come in and play our guard position pretty well, i.e. a Dan Skipper when he filled in for Jonah Jackson. And when you look at the market value of what Evan Brown should be targeting and available to get, he's looking at $10.5 to $11 million a year. Go get your bag, dude. Seriously, I'm not going to hold it against Evan Brown that, you know, he's going to go get paid somewhere. We can't afford that. Again, $25 million, you're really going to allocate half of your available hard cap space to go out and make a pass at a free agent for a serviceable guard, not necessarily an elite guard, but a player that we have been able to show can be plug and play with other players off of the roster. We could go out and we could draft somebody. We could get a younger talent at a lower rate than $10 million a year. Now, would I love for us to re-sign Evan Brown? I would love for us to re-sign Evan Brown. Again, I'm a huge Evan Brown fan. I can't explain it to you. He just seems like a good dude, a nice, hard-nosed player. You know, he gets down and he does all the dirty work, plays in the trenches. We just can't afford you, brother. We just can't swing $11 million. And considering you're coming off of a solid performance on one of the top 3 offensive lines in the league, you should be able to go and get your bag somewhere. So go get your bag, Evan Brown. I'm not necessarily mad at it, brother, but we can't swing it. So go get paid, go produce, and hopefully have a long career somewhere and you end up earning that bag that you're going to go get. But it's just unfortunately not looking like it's going to happen in Detroit. Number 4. Good old Alex Anzalone. I have been very hard on Alex Anzalone. Last year, I was incredibly hard on Alex Anzalone at the beginning of the season. But Alex Anzalone has turned it around. Alex Anzalone had over 100 tackles this year, and he's the captain of the team. Alex Anzalone was brought into the Lions organization, just like Jamal Williams was, to be part of a culture change, to be part of the rebuild. And Alex Anzalone has proven that he needs to be re-signed for an uptick in price. Yes, you heard it right. You heard it from me here first. Don't go after a Roquan Smith. Maybe draft a Mike Backer. Re-sign Alex Anzalone. Alex Anzalone is part of the team. He's part of the culture. He's helped build what we are now, and he can help control the team and direct the locker room to where we want to be. Go ahead. Pay Alex Anzalone an uptick of, $3 million a year over a couple years. There's nothing wrong with that, If you can get out of paying, a Roquan Smith $18 million and get a serviceable enough player that doesn't necessarily have to have all of the skills and have all the pressure be put on him, but make tackles, make the calls, maneuver your players into position, be cerebral on the field, then Alex Anzalone is your man. And go ahead, give him a slight bump in pay. I think we were paying him $1.5 or $2 million per year this last couple of years. Look, man, go ahead, bump him up to $3. Bump him up to $3 million over 2 years, or $3 million per year over 2 years. Reward the man for what he's done. Reward the man for what he's been able to accomplish both on the field and in the locker room for us, because he's one of the leaders of the team and he's one of the people that you can point to say, there is a player who has helped change the culture with Detroit. Number 5, another player that I'm going to completely fanboy over, and that's John Kaminsky. John Kaminsky is another guy that's come out and said, look, I want to play in Detroit. And we should welcome John Kaminsky. John Kaminsky embodies what Detroit and the Lions and Dan Campbell is all about. He's gritty. He's tough-nosed. He comes to work every day and he does his job. He does what he's asked. He does above more than what he's asked. He's a good rotationary player. He's a good player to have to be able to kick from the outside down to the inside to give you a little bit of speed on your NASCAR packages on the inside, but you don't lose a lot as far as like gap control because he's a little bit larger and a little bit stronger than your typical speed rushing end. John Kaminsky is a heartbeat guy. He is a leader in the locker room. He is the type of guy that you point to say that is what we are about. John Kaminsky needs to be re-signed for 2, possibly even 3 years. Go ahead and pay him 1.5, no more than $2 million a year. Get him around 1.7, 1.5. I like it. Couple years. Give him the rotationary play that he needs to help elevate our other players. Look, guys, we're looking at re-signing these guys not because they're impact players, but because they've done enough that they need to be rewarded with a contract with the Lions. They also know that what they're doing, and they can impact when they're put in position. We're not re-signing superstars. We're re-signing basically rotationary players, players that add depth to our roster, players that help build a winning culture. Guys who come in and do their job. They go to work every day. They know what's asked of them. They do what's asked of them. Hey guys, just a quick reminder. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so that you never miss out on any notifications, and you can become part of the Hat and Beard gang. Let's get back to the fun stuff. Number 6, DeSean Elliott. DeSean Elliott, just like DJ Chark, was brought in on a 1-year prove-it deal. And just like DJ Chark, actually better than DJ Chark, DeSean Elliott completely proved that he is a viable player and a better safety than, say, 80% of the league. He was able to come in and be a major contributor in controlling the run game. It was more than evident when he was out, i.e. Carolina, when Ife Melifonwu came in to replace him, and we got ran all over the place. DeSean Elliott is a good run defender, and he can also lay the lumber down on wide receivers. He's a big hitter, and he's smart. He's cerebral. However, his market value is going to be a little bit higher than we're able to pallet. He's going to command over $7 million a year, upwards of $10 million a year for 3, 4, 5 years. He's young enough that a team should probably make a crack at him, considering he put enough on tape to show that he is a viable player. Also, with that being said, we had the emergence of Kirby Joseph, and we'll be having the return of Tracy Walker. So, unfortunately for DeSean Elliott, our safeties are pretty solid at where they're at, and we can draft a younger player. We can go out and sign a cheaper player to be that rotationary third safety. Maybe even Ife Melifonwu takes that step forward. I'm not banking on that. I would love to re-sign DeSean Elliott. I think you have to have 3 solid safeties in today's NFL to be a successful defense. You got to be able to rotate those guys in. And you also have to have depth for, just like when Tracy Walker went down, you got to have players that can come in and play at a high level. I just don't see us being able to financially go out and get DeSean Elliott and still allow us to have enough cap space to make a couple of possible moves on the free agent market. So DeSean Elliott, unfortunately, bro, you are a cap space casualty. Number 7, another big fanboy over here. I love me some Isaiah Buggs. Isaiah Buggs has been a monster in the middle and a wonderful piece. Our team and Brad Holmes has been able to do a great job of finding these reject players and turning them into serviceable, if not budding players in the NFL. I'm not going to say stars, but, good enough players. And Isaiah Buggs is one of them. Isaiah Buggs has been on a couple of practice squads, but he's also young. He has shown that he has the potential to be a good defensive tackle. Can he be great? Probably not. Can he control the line of scrimmage? Yes, he can. Was he a major benefactor in our turnaround of stopping the run game? Yes, he was. Is he going to be the future of our team at the defensive tackle position? Probably not. Especially if we can go after and somehow a Jalen Carter can fall to us, or we can get a Brady Brees in the draft. Isaiah Buggs is good, but I just don't think he's the answer. That being said, he is a solid player whose his market value is tiny. So if you can go out and re-sign him for a 2-year deal at 1.5 all day long, be another serviceable rotationary player that not only can be serviceable and rotationary, but you know that he's good enough to be a starter. Yeah, he's solid. He's not great. He's not bad. He's solid. If we can go and get a rookie like a Brady Brees or Jalen Carter that can elevate that play, then you have another player that can come in and rotate around. It's all about rotation, fellas. It's all about having depth. If you can have the depth, then the injury bug doesn't necessarily hurt you as bad. The Lions were incredibly lucky this year with avoiding the majority of the injury bug. However, next year, God forbid something happens, it'd be nice to have all of these rotationary players that have seasoning on them, that have been, in these positions before, that are a part of this rebuild process. And Isaiah Buggs is one of those players. Again, keep the trend going, keep the winning attitude going. He's a guy that's helped you change the face of the franchise and change the culture in Detroit. So Isaiah Buggs should be a reward player, but also a necessary re-signing because he adds a lot of depth, and he's pretty solid play, man. I'd re-sign Isaiah Buggs, 2 years, $1.5 million. Number eight gets a little weird, you guys. Number 8, I'm going to put Mike Hughes. Now, I know what you're saying, Hat. You have trashed our secondary all season long, and justifiably so. Our corners are hot garbage. But we got to look at the facts here, fellas. We cannot afford to cut Jeff Brokuta. That'd be like a $10 million salary cap hit. We can't afford it. And, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell basically treating him like a rookie. He's been hurt. They're treating him the way that I've been saying they should treat him, by giving him a little bit longer of a leash. Maybe Jeff Brokuta can turn it around. He's got basically 1 year to prove it. So that leads to a whole slew of questions. Jerry Jacobs? Well, you're going to have to keep Jerry Jacobs. I mean, he's probably the best corner that we have on the team. Is that saying a whole lot? No. But when you look at the fact that Amani Oruwariye, free agent, trash, let him walk, get him out here. Sorry, Amani 2-4, bro, I don't know what happened between last season and this year, but you got to go. Will Harris, trash, always been trash, never been good. Don't know why Patricia drafted him, but I am very glad to see Will Harris go. And that leaves Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes is the best of a bad batch of upcoming free agents of our defensive back room. Would I re-sign Mike Hughes? Mike Hughes played pretty well. He's a little bit more of a journeyman player. He replaced Jeff Brokuta when Brokuta was sick and then faltering, on the back end of the year. He played solid. If you could get Mike Hughes for a dirt cheap contract, and I mean dirt cheap contract, then go right ahead. But I'm not going to be targeting Mike Hughes as a re-sign player, namely because, in my mind, we need to go after a corner in the draft. Also, it's been rumored that Jalen Ramsey wants to come to the Lions, which you do whatever it takes to bring Jalen Ramsey into the Lions, because that is how you bolster the back end of your defense. And also, that is the exact type of player that you need to mentor a faltering Jeff Brokuta and potentially a first-round draft pick, Joey Porter Jr. or Kelly Ringo. One of those two guys needs to be one of our first-round picks, and you pair them with Aaron Glenn's defense and Jalen Ramsey's veteran leadership, and you've gone from one of the worst secondaries to potentially one of the best secondaries in the NFL. And I would absolutely love that. So in order to make those type of moves happen, we're going to have to go ahead and probably not re-sign Mike Hughes. Again, this isn't anything personal, Mike Hughes. I actually kind of like you. I like your grit. I like what you've been able to come in and do. But I just don't think we're going to be able to afford you unless you're willing to take on a team-friendly contract. So Mike Hughes, we're going to have to cut you. See ya. We've almost made it to the end, fellas. We've got 2 more players, and we're going to get too in detail with them. These are 2 guys that I'm just massive fans of. Number 9, Dan Skipper. You have to re-sign your friendly neighborhood Dan Skipper. How could you not like Dan Skipper? He played great in his limited production. He never played guard before. He said, sure, I'll come in and play guard, and he played guard great. Dan Skipper is the type of guy that you want in the locker room. Dan Skipper is the type of guy who can come in and be rotationary. You're not going to put a lot of pressure on Dan Skipper and say, you have to go be Penei Sewell. You have to go be Taylor Decker or Frank Ragnow. No, you have to come in and you have to contribute. You have to rah-rah your guys. You have to be a leader in the locker room. And I think Dan Skipper is the type of guy who you keep in-house, and as he gradually transitions out of the league, you bring him in as part of the coaching staff, because Dan Skipper's the type of guy that you want in your organization. Dan Skipper's a leader on and off the field. He's your friendly neighborhood Dan Skipper, man. So go ahead, throw Dan Skipper $1.5 million over 2 years. Keep the guy in-house. Keep him in the organization. He's part of this rebuild. You just reward the man. He's Dan Skipper, man. How can you not like Dan Skipper? And number 10, I would re-sign Brock Wright. I know that our tight end room is young and a little bit crowded. Shane Zylstra is very good. James Mitchell is going to be potentially that guy moving forward. But man, what Brock Wright does on the field, both with the ball in his hands and in the run blocking game, how could you not want to keep a guy like Brock Wright around on your organization? I mean, yeah, he's probably going to get a little bit more money thrown at him from another team because he had some splash plays at the back end of the Lions season, namely the Jets game. But Brock Wright's a good tight end. He's solid. And teams will be able to get him on a lower price for a serviceable role. Let's be honest, unless you're a top-end elite tight end, most teams just need a guy. They just need a guy out there. And Brock Wright is that guy. He's that guy that teams want. That can come in and be serviceable on a team-friendly contract. I wish that the Lions make him that tight end. I would love for the Lions to re-sign Brock Wright. I like the multiple tight ends that we can throw at a defense because it doesn't allow them to scheme against just one, i.e. TJ Hawkinson. There's too many for them to cover. And when you start throwing all these wide receivers and running backs and tight ends and various packages at defenses, you really start to muddy the waters and they can't scheme against you. You've seen how beneficial it was, what Ben Johnson was able to do with our 3 tight end room after moving Hawkinson out. And I think Brock Wright was the main benefactor of that. Could we re-sign Brock Wright? Yeah, as long as it's a team-friendly deal. We're talking a good 1 up to possibly $2 million a year over 2 years to re-sign Brock Wright. Keep him in-house. Again, he's part of the rebuild situation here. So that's going to do it, fellas. I just gave you 10 potential free agents that the Lions need to re-sign off of our 2022 roster to keep the magic going, to keep this thing trending in the right direction, and also allow us to have, if all my calculations are right and we follow the offers that I'm projecting, you'll have about $14 to $12 million in free agent cap space that you can go out and make a splash on the market, potentially bring in a Jalen Ramsey. It would be nice to maybe throw some money at Daron Payne, but he's going to be, market value is going to be a little bit higher than what we'd probably be able to afford. You're looking at roughly $8 to $12 million a year for a Daron Payne. That's a pretty big number to stomach, especially when there's a reasonable amount of targets you can look at in the draft. Now, what we need to focus on, guys, is that number one, we have no reason to doubt Brad Holmes. And whatever moves Brad Holmes makes, we need to give him the benefit of the doubt because clearly it's working. So I can sit here and say all these moves and all these dollar amounts that I want, and Brad Holmes could completely come in and change everything and pull a bunch of Brad Holmes magic out and leave me standing here with my jaw on the ground. Go ahead and drop a comment down below. How dumb do you think my picks are, and who would you like to see the Lions re-sign from our available free agents? That's going to do it for me, fellas. Until next week when we talk about free agent acquisitions and potential early draft talk, hang in there. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you guys in the next one. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Time to 23 Skidoo. Or should I say 69 Skidoo.
She said that my pornos were boring.